Tonight, the systems you trust most don't fail gradually. They fail all at once. The lights don't flicker, they vanish. Your phone doesn't lose signal slowly, it drops to nothing. Traffic doesn't thin out, it locks into a grid of stalled engines and confused drivers. What makes this dangerous isn't chaos, it's silence. Modern infrastructure is designed to appear stable right up until the moment it isn't, and when it breaks, it doesn't give you time to think. It gives you seconds. Because the truth is this: survival in a sudden systems collapse is not about strength or luck. It's about a handful of decisions made before your brain fully understands what's happening. And most people will make the wrong ones. The first failure is the electrical grid. Not a local outage, but a cascading shutdown across transmission networks. Power grids operate in perfect synchronization. Frequency, voltage, and load must stay balanced across massive distances. When one segment fails, load shifts instantly to others. If those lines overload, they trip to protect themselves, pushing even more strain elsewhere. This is how blackouts cascade. Not because everything breaks, but because everything is designed to shut down to avoid catastrophic damage. Within seconds, entire regions go dark. Now consider what that actually means. Water treatment plants stop pumping, fuel stations can't dispense gasoline, elevators freeze, hospitals switch to backup generators that only last as long as their fuel reserves, typically measured in hours or days, not weeks. And perhaps most critically, communication networks begin to degrade immediately. Cell towers rely on battery backups that last anywhere from 30 minutes to a few hours. After that, the illusion of connectivity disappears completely. The hidden. Science here is dependency layering. Infrastructure systems are not independent, they are interlocked. Electricity powers communication. Communication coordinates logistics. Logistics sustain food, fuel, and emergency services. When power collapses, it doesn't just remove light, it removes coordination. Without coordination, even functional resources become inaccessible. This is why the first survival implication is counterintuitive. Do not move. Movement feels like action, but in the first phase of collapse, movement increases exposure to risk, traffic accidents, civil panic, resource bottlenecks. The correct move is stabilization. Stay where you are, secure your immediate environment, and preserve what you already have. Because once you step into the system, you become dependent on it again, and the system is already failing. The second failure is water distribution. Most people assume water comes from gravity or natural flow, but in modern cities it doesn't. It's pumped, continuously, electrically, and under pressure. When power drops, pressure begins to fall. At first, nothing seems wrong. Faucets still run. Toilets still flush. But within hours, pressure drops below critical thresholds and contamination risk rises. Without pressure, external contaminants can seep into the system through microfractures and joints. This is why boil water advisories exist. But in a grid-down scenario, most people won't have the means to boil water safely at scale. What you're seeing here is delayed failure, a system that appears functional while becoming unsafe. This is where most people make a fatal mistake. They wait for obvious signs. The survival implication is simple but brutal. If the grid goes down, your water is already on borrowed time. The correct decision is immediate storage and rationing. Fill. Every container you have while pressure still exists. Bathtubs, bottles, sinks, everything. Because once pressure drops, recovery doesn't mean restoration, it means uncertainty. You can't see contamination and you can't assume safety, and as hours turn into a day, dehydration becomes a faster threat than hunger, faster than most injuries, and far less forgiving. The third failure is fuel logistics. Fuel doesn't run out in a collapse, it becomes unreachable. Gas stations rely on electric pumps, digital payment systems, and continuous resupply chains. When power fails, pumps stop. When networks fail, payments fail. And when transportation networks seize up, deliveries stop entirely. What remains is a fixed, rapidly diminishing supply trapped inside vehicles and storage tanks. This is where human behavior accelerates the collapse. People rush to fill tanks, forming long queues that turn into static clusters of idling engines. Fuel is burned not for movement, but for waiting. Within hours, local reserves are exhausted, not because there wasn't enough, but because it was consumed inefficiently under panic conditions. The hidden dynamic here is throughput collapse. Systems are designed for flow, not hoarding. The moment flow stops, scarcity multiplies artificially. The survival implication is that mobility becomes a liability. If you rely on your vehicle after the first wave of disruption, you're competing for a resource that is no longer being replenished, and worse, you're tying your survival to infrastructure that has already failed. The correct move is to treat fuel as finite and movement as strategic, not reactive. If you don't already have a clear destination and a guaranteed path, staying put is safer than entering a system that is rapidly locking itself down. The fourth failure is communication, not just the internet, but the entire layered structure of modern signaling, cellular networks, data centers, routing systems. These systems are resilient, but only temporarily. Backup batteries keep towers online for a short window, but without grid power, those batteries deplete. Data centers rely on massive cooling systems. Without power, overheating becomes a limiting factor. Routing depends on constant updates. When nodes drop out, paths fail unpredictably. What begins as slow connectivity turns into fragmentation and finally into silence. And when communication fails, something more dangerous takes its place: assumption. People act not on information, but on fear, rumor, and instinct. The hidden science here is information decay. In stable systems, information is constantly verified and updated. In failing systems, it becomes stale almost instantly. Decisions made on outdated information are often worse than no decisions at all. The survival implication is that you're last. Reliable information is your most valuable asset, and it has an expiration time. The correct move is to act early, while information is still accurate, and then shift from external dependence to internal planning. Once communication collapses, adaptability matters more than knowledge because you can no longer confirm anything beyond your immediate environment. And this is where everything converges. Power loss removes coordination. Water systems degrade silently. Fuel becomes inaccessible. Communication disappears. None of these failures are dramatic on their own, but together, they create a condition where hesitation becomes the most dangerous choice of all. Because the window between normal and irreversible is smaller than most people think. It's not days, it's hours. And in that window, there are only a few decisions that matter. Stabilize your position, secure water immediately, avoid unnecessary movement, and act before information disappears. Everything else, every plan, every assumption, every delay happens inside a system that is no longer functioning the way you think it is.